Here in this video, I will provide you my official estimate for Tesla deliveries and how I think this will affect Tesla stock. Now, bear in mind, the last couple of quarters, I have really been the most accurate estimate. We've been within 1,000 deliveries. The last delivery number that we got, we were within 5,000. We've been much more accurate than Wall Street, okay? Let's just put it that way. And I do think this quarter is going to be a good quarter, and I think it's going to be better than expected. So the bigger question is really, what's going to happen to Tesla's stock? And at the same time, we have Tesla's Robotaxi event coming up on October 10th. And what could this do really between now and then? Because as I've talked about here on this channel for maybe a week now, a couple of days, you have really started to see short sellers covering on a lot of their short positions. Now, there's still a huge short position outstanding, and really either way, I expect there to be some short covering heading into October 10th. But if these delivery numbers come in as good as I think they will, you could see a lot more short covering than maybe you would otherwise see if the number came in bad, let's say. Now, let's just start first and foremost with Tesla China. Now, as long as this last week of insurance registrations come in at about 14,000, which is where we've roughly been at the last couple of weeks, you're going to be looking at almost 173,000 deliveries in China alone. Now, this number can vary a little bit because there can be some lags between when people actually take delivery of the vehicle and when insurance registrations are taking place. There's known to be a little bit of a lag here. So I think you could prop this number up to about 200,000. And that could be fair as well. But just sticking with 172,000, I think would make a little bit more sense. Now, as per some of the numbers that we have gotten out of Europe as well, again, there is a lag and this data is not 100% perfect. We're on track for at least 80,000 deliveries in Europe. You add these together, you're at 252,000 deliveries. Canada tends to give us about 12 to 15,000 vehicles a quarter being delivered. We don't get good data out of Canada either, so we really have to guesstimate. But that brings us to 265,900. The rest of the world tends to come in between 32 and 35,000 deliveries a quarter, so we'll plug in 35,000 to that, and you're looking at about 301,000 deliveries. The big wild card that makes all the difference is, what does the US look like? Okay, now we don't get really any data out of the US. We know the Cybertruck's the best-selling truck, or electric truck, that is, for a couple months in a row. Okay, but other than that, we really don't get any data out of the US. I think, as a fair assessment, we could assign, let's say, 170,000 deliveries over in China. Now, the US and China tend to be pretty close in quarterly delivery figures, but some of the recent promotions in the US may have helped Tesla a little bit, okay? So over the last couple of quarters, China has delivered more vehicles than the US, okay? By roughly 5%, 5 to 11%, just depending on what quarter you're looking at. But I think we could be at a 1-to-1 parity for this quarter, potentially coming in around that 173,000 deliveries or so. So at 173,000 deliveries, you're looking at about 473,900 deliveries. Call it 474,000 deliveries. I think that is a pretty fair and accurate judgment for Tesla's deliveries, coming this week. And again, that'll come on October 2nd, which is going to be on Wednesday. That'll be released in pre-market. That is my official estimate as of now. We will get the final week for Tesla China deliveries, and that can move things around a little bit. I only factored in 14,000 deliveries. So if that comes in at like 17,000, then you can boost these numbers up a couple thousand, right? 475,000 or so. And, each 1,000 vehicles above the estimate, Wall Street's estimate, is going to move the needle quite a bit for Tesla. Now, current estimates for Tesla deliveries, although we haven't got a lot of firms that have actually published theirs yet, look to be in the 460 to 465,000 range. Now, especially as we get into Monday, you're going to get more estimates coming out, and the larger picture, the larger estimate is going to itself change around a bit. Might go higher, might go lower. It looks like there's a bias for that number to go higher. We could, head into Wednesday with an Wall Street estimate, let's say 467,000 delivery target for the average estimate. But I still think coming in at 474,000 is going to be really good news. And I think that's going to be obviously better than expected. Now, I do think in the upside surprise scenario, you could see, better deliveries in the Asia Pacific region, which doesn't normally contribute much to Tesla deliveries. And that could boost things up even a little bit more. It wouldn't surprise me if deliveries come in over 480,000. It could be close to a new record. Although you would have to see some real strength in the US in the last quarter. And I'm not confident enough to say that, but I'm not, not confident enough to rule that out as well. If we somehow could have delivered, let's say 210,000 vehicles for the US, that would add, 30, 40,000 to this number. And that would push us to a new record for Tesla deliveries. Although I think that's around a 20% chance, it is a possibility. And in terms of what I think that would do to Tesla stock is, one, I think you would see shorts completely scramble. Okay, I think you would see Tesla stock up 15% coming Wednesday. You'd probably gap up 10% or so, if that was just my opinion, and then probably continue higher throughout the rest of the day. 15% upside from here would put Tesla over $300 per share by Wednesday. It would put the stock at about $301 per share or so. Now, obviously, if we sell off Monday, Tuesday, via some of the data we get JOLTS job openings, you get ISM manufacturing PMIs that come out on Tuesday. If markets sell off a bit, Tesla sells off a bit heading into the delivery number on Wednesday, then perhaps you could see even a maybe larger gain for Tesla. But I do think there's that 20% chance or so that you go up 15, maybe even 20%. If this was a new all-time high for deliveries, I think Tesla could be a $315 stock by Wednesday. You could see a 20% positive day on Wednesday with a 500,000 plus delivery number. Like heading into the Robotaxi event with that kind of strength, I wouldn't bet against it. Now, with my estimate of 474,000 deliveries or so, up to really 485,000. I think that's the most likely range, between 474 and 485. That would put Tesla stock easily up 7 to 8%. So a 7% gain would be $280. If we come in closer to 485,000, which I do think is roughly a 40% probability, at least 30% probability, 35% probability, then you are going to be pushing 10%. And then Tesla by Wednesday, it could be a $290 stock. Now, if we were to come in, let's say right on my estimate at 274,000, again, at least a 7% gain would be expected. And that would take Tesla to about $280 per share. Although with the Robotaxi event upcoming and a good solid delivery number, even if it's only 5 or 10,000 deliveries higher than expected, you could see Tesla stock go up 10 or even 15%. It's really hard to say when you have this much option activity, and the what seems like a rush to get out of these Tesla short positions. And honestly, anywhere from 7 to 20% should be expected on Wednesday. I think there's a very low chance of a disappointment. Now, the other factor to consider is inventory, okay? We have seen via the data I've shared with you guys over and over again now here on the channel, global inventory numbers peaked the last week of August, okay, with the Model Y at about 7,800, the Model 3 at about 6,400, the Model X at 4,800, the Model S at about 3,700. They have been falling aggressively ever since, really throughout the month of September. So if Tesla was able to sell a lot more of their inventory vehicles, that's really going to give Tesla a boost on earnings. And that's what these delivery numbers really are. It's like Tesla's earnings, right? Because you get the deliveries, so we kind of know what to expect for earnings. If inventory gets run down even more than expected, then you're all of a sudden going to get better earnings than expected. And that's kind of the way to think about this as well. So it's not just a delivery number, but really it's an earnings a pre-earnings announcement, if you will. And I think that's what could also really benefit Tesla stock. And I mean, that's why it's so hard to be bearish right now on Tesla. Like, you don't want to be bearish on Tesla, not with the number that we're expecting on Wednesday and heading into the Robotaxi event. The only way I think Tesla falls this week is if the markets have a really bad week via some of the economic data. I don't think the election's going to do anything to Tesla. I don't think geopolitical tensions are going to do anything negative for Tesla. The economic data, specifically ISM manufacturing and JOLTS job openings on Tuesday, ISM services PMIs could be important on Thursday, although I don't think that's going to be that important because services are probably going to come in pretty good or at least decent, right? Not collapsing, if you will. Friday's non-farm payrolls, that's really the big wild card and what happens with the unemployment rate. So perhaps by the end of the week, things could get a little bit worse. But it really depends on that JOLTS job openings number on Tuesday. I do think what happens to the markets, at least from Tuesday through Friday. So hopefully that makes some sense. But really, yeah, we are in a very good place for Tesla. And I've went over the data with you guys a couple of times now, but for the hell of it, we'll go over it again here in this video. As far as the short position in Tesla, ever since really August, the short interest was at about 3.8%. Now it's at 2.77%. You've seen over 25 million shares that have been covered on. Since early August, you had 104 million shares sold short. Now you're only at 77 million shares sold short. So you've seen a lot of short covering activity. You still have almost $20 billion sold short in Tesla stock. If you take a look at what we've seen on Friday, you had 331,000 shares on net that were covered. So that also looks pretty good. But it's really the option activity that has started to ramp up recently in the last couple of days that has perked some of my attention. On Friday, you had 156 different trades from hedge funds and institutions, totaling $337.14 million with a positive order value of 81%. Over the past week, you have seen 371 different trades, totaling $416 million with a positive order value of 81% as well. So option activity has picked up. Shorts have started to cover. Heading into Wednesday, I think that's in and of itself a pretty good sign of what to expect following Tesla's delivery numbers. And I do think there is potentially an option trade potential here heading into Wednesday's number, especially if we get a red day for Tesla Monday or Tuesday. That I think would be a great opportunity to potentially make a short-term trade, although that's not financial advice and your situation may not warrant any trading at all. It really just depends on multiple different factors. So that's not financial advice. If you guys want to come trade with us live in real time, see the trades that I am making on Tesla or on our markets to hedge for the downside or play the upside, check out that link down below in the description of this video. But nonetheless, those are my estimates. That's my opinion, what I think is going to happen for Tesla. All in all, I think there's probably a 90% chance that Tesla stock goes up materially this week and a 10% chance or so it's a big down week, specifically related to deliveries. Now, I think there's maybe a 30% chance, 40% chance that we see a down week overall for markets. But if it's not that bad, if we don't get too many recession fears coming out, I don't think it has to derail Tesla. Now, if we get a full-on panic, of course, that's going to negatively impact Tesla. But just some typical, start of Q4 selling, geopolitical tensions, I don't really think that's going to affect Tesla. But hey, been wrong before. Could be wrong on that as well. So let me know what you guys think about this down below in the comment section. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.